At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the Radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the Radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. It is Monday afternoon right here on Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. A good weekend. It was okay. It was fine. Let's just say I was dragged out by the wife who woke up Sunday morning and says, that's it, we're going here. And we went there 2 hours, got caught in a rainstorm. I wish I could say I hated it. I did not. I would have rather spent my weekend at home, maybe tending to the lawn, doing some housework, maybe cleaning up some bathrooms, mopping or sweeping, whatever, but fine. I did it. It was Father's Day, and to all of you fathers out there, I hope you had a wonderful Father's Day. You too, baby daddies. You too, baby daddies. I know you don't refer to yourself as fathers or dads. Baby daddy, I know that's the lingo you young kids are using. As pathetic as that is, but whatever. To you, too. I hope they never call it Baby Daddy Day, ever. So, I hope you enjoyed that. But I got to talk about this because it bothers me every time it happens. And I hope that this is not viewed as me trying to be controversial. So because I know that it will be, let me just give a warning to those of you who are going to get offended. Black people, brown people, go somewhere else. Leave. Be gone. Go wherever it is that they're snapping their fingers and stomping their feet to the latest Bang Bang Shoot 'em Up Rapper Die Slow song. Just go there. Just go. I know you don't want to come here because you don't want to be chastised. Reese, you're going to put down black people. No, I am not. But I am going to put down the people in Hartford who were involved at the Caribbean American Society in that shooting that took place. I am going to talk to them. And I'm also going to talk to the parents who had their children there at 10:24 p.m. on a Sunday. School night? Is school out yet? School officially out yet, Roland? Almost, right? So, but still a school night.
No, foremost.
For most. Okay, nonetheless. Sunday night at 10 o'clock, my mother wouldn't dream of it. Not when I was a kid. And my mother was a horrible mother. Horrible. She tried her best. Don't get me wrong. That's not saying she was a bad person. She doesn't do the mothering thing, She was not June Cleaver, okay? But it's fair for me to say, gosh, how could you say something horrible about your mother like that? We've all, those of us who have horrible mothers, you know what I'm talking about. She tried, she failed. Not everybody's perfect. I know that you have to just say that about parents. She did what she could. with limited resources, she did her best. We just can't come out and say horrible. I'm a truth teller here. I just believe in being honest. I can say that about my mother. I lived under her rule. Horrible she was. You can be offended that I'm talking about my mother, whom you've never had to live under. That's fine. That's also your opinion. But you don't sway me here. But if you had your kids out at the Caribbean American Society on a Sunday night after 10 p.m., shame on you. And let me tell you why shame on you. You know what these kids are like. You know what the hood is like. There were 400 people out there on a Sunday night, probably playing the boom bap of the hippity hop, or maybe even the boom bap of the reggae music. It was a late night where most people were sitting at home, but you fools were out at 10 o'clock, knowing damn well nothing good happens after 9. I'm sorry, especially in a black neighborhood, it just doesn't. Come on, let's be real, folks. Let's be honest. You know this, and I know this. Don't be mad at me because you think I'm airing dirty laundry. Perhaps you should just do the laundry. And the laundry is, let's call it like it is. This was a shootout on Father's Day. And most people who are sitting quietly, let me do their job for you. There are plenty of people who were saying, how could they possibly have any respect for the sanctity of Father's Day in the black community? Yeah, I said it, and you know that's what's being said. Why didn't we hear about any shootings on Mother's Day? Huh? Probably because they have more respect for Mother's Day, maybe? Huh? Or maybe on Mother's Day there's no 1024 shooting because no one's out at some Caribbean dance hall or makeshift dance hall outside the Caribbean Center at 10 o'clock at night with children there. Not on Mother's Day. On Father's Day it was, though. Trying to understand what that's about. Couldn't you guys save that for Friday or Saturday night, but Sunday on the Lord's Day, and for all things, of all days, Father's Day, you know, the day that rarely gets any real respect in the black community? You know it doesn't. People try, I see them reaching, almost having to visit a chiropractor afterwards, reaching to make Father's Day a thing in the black community. It's practically non-existent. And to sully it with a shooting in Hartford at 10 o'clock in the morning where mothers were seen clutching their children, running through the parking lot trying to save them. How many women ended up being victims of gunfire last night? How many? Who were these young people who decided to pull out weapons at this event? Why were the police, which I found odd, I was watching a press conference where whoever's there, and I guess one of the police chiefs, I'll get his name, my apologies for forgetting it. Let me see if I can get it real quick. But the press conference that I heard today, the officer who was giving the press conference said that the police were unaware that this event was taking place in the capital city. Now, unless somebody wants to correct me on that, but I'm almost certain I heard that during the press conference. That the city did not even know the event was taking place, where there were 400 people at night on a Sunday, where there would be dancing in a part of the town that is considered highly volatile at night, where there would be bang, bang, shoot 'em up, Negro die, slow music playing. No one even thought of patrolling that area or even knew that the event was taking place. Someone explain to me how that happened. No one has any regard for what happens in these communities. No one cares. No one cares. No one has to. You know, I have a theme on this show where I say, you first. Don't ask me to care about your crappy neighborhood. You first. Why would I send more resources into a community you don't care about? You do it first. Why should I stop the gun violence in your community? You can't. You won't. When the police roll around to find out who's responsible, what does everyone do? Shh, don't snitch. Shh, don't tell. Give them free rein to shoot someone else. The next ridiculous event on Sunday night. Do we have another holiday coming up that's sacred? Huh? Isn't Juneteenth coming up? Let's see if we can reserve those shooters for the next holiday, where large numbers of African Americans will be celebrating with more bang bang shoot 'em up Negro die slow music, only to be met with gunfire, huh? Why not? And then that event, when the police roll around and go, who's the shooter? Everyone goes, shh, don't tell. Shh, don't help the police. I am going to beg everybody in Connecticut, outside of Hartford, mind your business. Leave them to their own devices. They don't care. Let them figure it out. I've done a story about this over and over again. The amount of people within these African-American communities who are dying at an alarming rate, how the population seems stagnant at this point, slowly killing itself off, and then screaming about racism and bigotry at any given moment, blaming everybody else for their doldrums, but staying quiet while they shoot at each other at social gatherings that are supposed to celebrate fatherhood. Fatherhood. No one, I haven't heard anybody come forward. Have you? Have you heard anybody in the community say anything? Stand up? Where's the protest? People had to drive themselves to the hospital with gunshot wounds. No offense, I wouldn't drive through that zone either. I wouldn't drive through that neighborhood. If I was EMT, for what? What would I drive 3 or 4 to get shot? To have my life put in jeopardy? I'm trying to get home to my children. I'm trying to get home to my family. Why would I go to that war zone? People screaming and hollering about the amount of people. Why do they always suspect that we are criminals? If you aid and abet by not telling the police who the criminals are, you're just as bad. You're shielding them. You're protecting them while they exploit you. You're no better than them. And yet you want me to say good things about the community. Why am I always criticizing? Why not? You won't. Maybe that's the problem. What do you think? Talking about it at the barbershop is helpful? What do you think? Yammering about it at the beauty salon is saving lives? Do you think picking up the newspaper or turning on your local news and shaking your head going, damn shame, boy, that's making a difference? Somebody like me comes along and says, hey, something's got to be done. Someone has to speak up. And the first thing you say is, nah, Reese, be quiet. Stop putting us down. Okay. Kill yourselves. That's what you want. That's the alternative. The alternative is to sit back and watch you guys kill yourselves. Or watch them kill you. Watch them maim you. Send another family to the funeral home. Damn, not even that place is sacred. They shoot up those things too, now don't they? It's embarrassing to watch people sit there and shake their heads, the news media, just going, don't you find this crazy? The police lieutenant there is just going, yeah, it's unfathomable. I just can't understand it. Let me help you. Or better yet, let me do it for you, because I think you all know what's going on. I think you're just scared to death to tell the truth. And I know you're scared to death to tell the truth. I had a dream about this. These son of a guns will sooner shoot at me than to change their lifestyle in their community. They'd sooner attack me physically than change what's going on in their community. You want to know why? Because this is acceptable culture behavior. This is the blackosphere. This is normal and acceptable, and it is not to be criticized. It is this way because it is this way. And no one has the guts or the fortitude to come forward and put an end to it, because they're scared to death too. And they are more afraid of the people who wish to take their lives than they are afraid to lose their lives. That is incredible to me. And that's why I call these gangbangers and these drug dealers, I call them nothing more than the Klan in blackface. Because they mean to terrorize a community into silence, to keep them from doing anything to protect themselves like the Klan used to. You say something, we'll eliminate you. You speak up for yourself, we'll lynch you. That's what's going on in the community. And these people have not only been scared into silence, they have been frightened into thinking it's normal. They would sooner cheer on my demise having spoken up than to defend their own. And you will see more of the same until it changes. And that ain't likely to happen. So if I may say two words that I can't believe is coming out of my mouth, give up. We'll be back. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Hey, whoa, hold up. 100 candles on the cake? Who do you think's lighting this?
We're back. Reese on the Radio, WTIC News Talk 1080. Don't forget, telephone number 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. We've got Between Rounds, our Winter Between Rounds promotion. That's coming up soon. We got headlines coming up as well. There were these weekend protests on Saturday, the No Kings protests. And there was a part of me over the weekend that said, you know what, go to some local news channels across the country and see how they're reporting it. And then I said, no. I thought to myself, no. I'll explain that a little later why. Truth be told, I don't think, and if you did participate in those protests in any way, one, I'm glad you're safe. Some people did not come out safe. There was gunfire at one. Apparently, a young man, a designer, small business Samoan man, lost his life in a melee. I think it was in Salt Lake City. There were some that were violent. Other people were brandishing weapons. I know Antifa was at a couple of them. But if you are safe and yours went off without a hitch happy for you. I'm glad. I hope you got the opportunity to perform your civic duty, go out there and protest, tell America what you think. But I want to talk to you in a little bit about the No Kings Day and just opine about what I think it really means in the grand scheme. It's I don't know. I don't know whether or not it's helping. Not in general. I just don't think it's helping you, those people on your side. And I also want to make a comment about some of the videos you may have seen online of people being interviewed. And I'm going to criticize my side on this because there is some criticism that has to be had on my side interviewing some of these people. I know something's going on, and I get the reason why it's going on, but it's not good. This is the reason why I felt like I should have gone, but my wife was concerned. I'll talk about that a little bit as well. Roseanne did not want to go to our local No Kings rally. I would say for good reason, but I'll explain that in a little. Maybe I'll even have her explain it in a little bit. But with these No Kings protests that in or around the country, many people have been asking the question, if you don't like the United States, why not go somewhere else? And I've often thought about that as well. But I don't even go so far as to say leave or move out. No, I think that people have a right to criticize the country they live in and still live here. I don't say that. Although I have said, I remember many years ago, I want to say maybe even 10 years ago, I suggested to a black man who hated America and loved Africa, the whole continent, I said, if we could send you anywhere and we could pay for it, where would it be? And he couldn't answer, typically, like most people, cannot answer where they would want to live or the place that's better than America. I think it's lazy, by the way. For those of you who cannot answer, you should at least work on that. You've only been asked for like 20 years, like, where would you go? Many of you would not go to the places you may have said 10 years ago, like Paris, you wouldn't go. England, you wouldn't go. Ireland, you wouldn't go. It's not like it used to be. But I think now a conversation needs to be had about the places that Americans say are great places to move. Many people have moved to those places. And the newspaper or magazine called The Independent, actually, I don't know what they were trying to do, but when I say it hurt their cause, it does. They did a video breaking down some of the easiest places for Americans to move. And we have it here. And we're going to play it in a little bit. And I went so far as to look up some of the, because they didn't go this far. I went to go look up what were the penalties in those countries if you were to get into them illegally. And one of these countries, the one that everybody seems to be supporting, has some of the harshest penalties if you get into illegally. And they're the ones that everyone thinks that our rules are draconian. This one country's rules are like, really? Because if you've heard, everyone says that coming into the United States is a civil penalty. Right? It's not criminal. It's civil. And I just don't. Are you saying that it isn't like you're not breaking the law? Because it's a frowned upon thing. Okay, all right, whatever. There are some countries where it's considered a felony. The one time you do it. The one time. And the fines, you wouldn't imagine. It's absolutely insane, but I'll break that down in a little bit. Let's get a phone call in, 860-522-WTIC. Alicia is calling from Waterbury. Hello, Alicia. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
So I agree that if you go to another country, you can't even walk across the border to Canada anymore.
No, you can't.
So another thing that's happening here in the United States of America are Islamic jihadists who are coming across our country.
Yes.
So they're coming from Iran. You have the Chinese nationals. And recently, China and Iran have a relationship. And Iran just purchased and secured thousands of tons of Chinese-made ammonium perchlorate, which is for ballistic missiles that can fuel up to 800 short-range missiles and potential transfers to the Houthis. So Jonathan Karnickas, who is a member of the Israel Defense Forces and was a representative also to the UN, brought to our attention in October of 2024 that not only can Iran shoot these missiles here to the United States, because Connecticut is also a military-industrial complex. We have Lockheed Martin, we have the U-boat, Whitney, Sikorsky, but they can ship these weapons of mass destruction in nice little crates and containers and ship them over here. So Islamic jihadism has also brought into our country with a Holocaust survivor who is trying to protest because the Americans have been held hostage in Gaza and their bodies haven't been returned yet. And then those young teenagers, young adults who were slaughtered by gunfire outside of the embassy. So I think Pompeo said it best that we've known about Fordo, which is the second largest uranium enrichment that they have, which is deep down under. And not only are bomb busters from the United States can eliminate that threat. So I think we need a call, and because they said that we don't need our troops on the ground. They
Alicia,
our bomb busters.
Forgive me, Alicia, let me interrupt you for a second. One, and forgive me, I don't mean this in a rude way. You sound very scripted a little bit, and a little sort of like this is something that you do as a profession in this regard.
No.
It's not? Okay,
No,
so you're
I'm
just
a
a regular
person.
citizen. Okay, all right, no problem. My question to you is based upon all of this. Would you like to see Americans, or at least our military, involved in the fight against Iran, or supporting Israeli in a fight against Iran at this point? I'm just asking because it sounds like you quoted Mike Pompeo, who I know wants that conflict. Are you in agreement with that?
Well, I don't think it's conflict. I think it's Eric Shackelbach said that the Muslim Brotherhood has been here for over 20 years, and they're waiting for the call. So it's not like, if Iran calls Israel the little satan and we're the great satan. They just tried to assassinate Donald Trump last year. They have a video where he's on a golf course, and they have him with like a rifle bullet, like if you were to look through a rifle and then you could see your target.
Right.
So it's here. As regards to American troops on the ground, they don't need our troops. They just need our military equipment. They just need the funding for it. And I feel awful for them because when I was in high school, I was a freshman, and I remember September 11th. I was in biology class. I heard when we were switching classes that a plane attacked the towers and that it was terrorism, and to stay calm and to pray, and that we're going to have classes. And the next day, our country came together. I walked into school, and there was paper towels because we live in Connecticut, and New York's very close. And
Where were you going? Where were you going to school, Alicia? And were you in New York? You said.
I graduated from Holy Cross High School.
I'm sorry.
So
Say again.
We were a Catholic school. Holy Cross High School in Waterbury.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we were a Catholic school, and that whole day we watched what was going on in the news. We had a prayer service that week after. But our choir teacher told us that we were going to be watching it all day. So she wanted us to stay together, and we were actually singing American songs for our concert, ironically. But we didn't know. We prepared like before September 11th for our winter concert. So it was just ironic. But for me, my grandfather, he landed at Normandy, and he didn't get drafted. He was in his 20s. And my uncle served in Vietnam. He didn't get drafted. He flew a helicopter getting dead bodies and bringing them home. from the Philippines. So my family has made the ultimate sacrifice. And I think that with our support, they're not asking for our boots on the ground. They're just asking for this to be done and over with because it's here. It affects each one and every one of us, and they're in our communities. And I think if we as a country stand up and say that we don't want Islamist jihadism here, it would also help with all the anti-Semitism that's going around in our schools.
Yeah.
Brown University.
Alicia, I do have to take a break. There's a lot of what you're saying here that I ultimately agree with. But I want you to hold on for a second. I want to take a little bit more time with you. I want to respond to what you said so far because, again, September 11th is, that's how I got into the business. That was my first broadcast day from New York City at Hot 97. That was my first broadcast day on September 11th. So it is personal to me, too. I want to give you a little background on me and where I agree with you, but sort of counter your assessment of all of this in a minute. So hold on for me. I'm going to put you on hold. We'll take a break. We'll be back with Alicia out of Waterbury to talk a little bit about this conflict going on between Israel and Iran when we return. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Into WTIC News Talk 1080 on the free Odyssey app. Download and like WTIC today for alerts on special programming.
We'll be back with Alicia in a quick second, but I understand where she's coming from because Alicia, like you, after September 11th, I was what was considered gung-ho. In 2001, or 2003, I should say, I was the one who coined the phrase based upon an old saying, fight a commie for your mommy. In 2003, I started using the phrase fight an Iraqi for your pappy. Was when that was my contribution to the war. I was all in. But I do believe that there was a lot of blood and treasure that was wasted on a war that could have been handled differently. I'm more concerned today about this conflict in Iran than I've ever been before, primarily because I really don't trust the people to tell me the truth about what's going on there. I'm under the impression that you believe that if we don't act now, we are opening the floodgates for another September 11th. Are you of that belief?
Yes, I believe that another September 11th can happen here. October 7th, 2023 was, when I heard about it, was just terrifying. Mm-hmm. I love history. I heard that you and your wife like to watch documentaries. And there is a documentary that Glenn Beck put on TV back in the day when he was on television.
I remember.
The Soviet story. And it was about the Holodomor. And when I was in high school, we never learned about the Holodomor. We never learned there was a man-made famine. We never learned about Christians being buried alive. Mm-hmm. And then in the documentary, they start saying, well, there may be 3 million. And then they go all the way up to 20 million within 2 years.
Yeah.
And that just terrified me. And then when I heard about the Armenian genocide that happened, and nobody talks about that either. I've been listening very close with Israel. My grandfather reads my mom so that he told her that the Jews were God's chosen people, and I'm a very Bible person. Mm-hmm. And so I always wanted to learn about history, and I never really wanted it to happen again. And I always wondered, why did World War II happen in the first place? Because we heard that the Pope knew what was going on, that mm-hmm. our President Roosevelt denied the Jews to come here mm-hmm. In a ship, and then were sent back. And so if terrorism is happening here in our country, and Iranian proxies all over are attacking, I just feel like this is here. It's happening to us. Our president got a warning sign.
Yeah.
The Atomic International Agency is saying, hey, we're on the force of breakout. They have enough enriched uranium. And he's an Islamic jihadist, Iran. So can you really trust someone who has a target on your country's back?
No, I totally.
Playing the long game.
I was having this
And that's
conversation.
what scares me.
I was having this conversation with my wife as well. I think there's an appetite or a lack of an appetite for a conflict today. I always consider, after the 20-year war of Afghanistan and a 24-year war of Afghanistan and 24-year war of Iraq or 20-year war of Iraq, many people are war weary and many people don't want to get into another conflict inside the Middle East. Even if it's righteous, even if indeed they are coming after us. But I've talked about that a million times. I get where your sentiment is, and I listen to enough people who call this program to tell me that we are going to be caught flat-footed unless we act. But I do believe that where we are in our state, and I'll let you go with this, I think where we are in this country is we are in a reactionary place as opposed to a proactive place. And unfortunately, that could be our undoing, and it could cost a lot of human lives. So I appreciate your frustration. And you feel like
I think it's not just the frustration about us being attacked. It's also the people all across the world, too. Because Iranian people, they don't hate the Jewish people. They have the Cyrus Accords. They want to be free. They don't want to to be forced to go into a street and wear a mullah. And they actually have the Chinese surveillance system, where if they don't cooperate, they're publicly humiliated and tortured and raped. So it's gotten to the point where it's not only just here, it's a whole bunch of lives. And I feel like if we don't stop this by simply just eliminating a bunker underneath the ground that they have video in 2018 that they got evidence for, that's there. That's so simple that we don't have to risk all these lives and troops on the ground, and people can actually be free. And we don't have to worry about having this hang over our heads.
Alicia, I want to thank you for your call and thank you for your patience. A lot of stuff to go over, and I know we're going to get a lot of response to this phone call. So I appreciate you taking the time. And I know it's probably one of your first calls to the show. Please call back. You were very engaging. I appreciated it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me time. I appreciate it.
You got it. All right, let's get to the top of the hour news with John Silva on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
WTIC. Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
All right, we're back. Reese on the radio. Let's get into some headlines. You may not know this, but according to a report by the New York Post, since Donald Trump revamped the CBP app for illegals, you might remember that Joe Biden had that app is for you to get sanctuary to come into the country. Now, the Trump administration and Christine Ohm has revamped this app so now that you can self-deport, so you can get out of the country so you can avoid the ICE raids. Well, since the CBP app has been re-altered, can you believe it, according to the New York Post, that 1 million illegals have self-deported already? By the way, this means because they self-deported, they can actually, sign up to come back into the country having done that. So once you've actually, done that, you self-deport, you can now come back and they will actually, there's a pathway for citizenship for you having done that. So a lot of people were frowning on the idea about this app being revamped in the self-deport. Who's going to self-deport? Well, 1 million people so far have done it. So that's interesting. And, people should, it's a success, not just for the Trump administration, but it's a success for legal immigration in this country. It is a win. Just, if you want to see the article, it's in the New York Post. Coach Gino. Does anybody remember about a year ago, your humble correspondent criticized him? He was on the Dan Patrick show, and while he was on there, he was talking about Caitlin Clark, and he was a little, I don't know, heavy-handed on WNBA fans. And I made that criticism that says, look, these are the people who pay your salaries, and if they're overwhelmingly supporting Caitlin Clark, it's probably not the best idea to go bashing your meal ticket, right? She's exponentially raised the interest in the WNBA. It's got a national contract. I was watching plenty of games on television when I was having lunch yesterday. This was Coach Gino.
The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP of the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name.
If I remember correctly, wasn't that said about people like Kobe and LeBron? If I remember correctly, didn't Kobe, no, not Kobe, I apologize, LeBron have a $90 million shoe contract before he had ever hit the paint? Is that right, Roland? Yeah. It was, right? This guy was considered the second coming of Jordan before he ever tossed the ball in the hoop. Am I wrong here?
Yeah, well, he was named the chosen one.
He was considered the chosen one, having never played a game. What is this deal with calling Caitlin Clark disrespectful in her rookie year? Just because, and it's disrespectful to the WNBA? Why? Was she taking attendance from the league? No. She was bringing attention to it. So now this particular take from Coach Gino is now being Dave Portnoy shared it, and people are roasting the coach behind this. But and there's more. Let me play the rest of it.
Okay. So the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning. So if you're a WNBA player, and believe me, I've coached the best, and I've pissed them off a lot, and they let me know about it. But they were tremendously disrespected. And none of them are going to say it. But human nature is, okay, this kid's coming into the league. And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's printing. Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie.
And look at her in her second season, probably one of the most prolific players in the game, tearing it up. I mean, it's everyone's calling it online, one of the worst takes in sports history.
Absolutely. And Diana Taurasi has 10 games of 30 points, 10 assists for her career. And Caitlin Clark already has 9.
Goodness gracious. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again,
she's a beast, man.
She is. I mean, like I said, she's not just saving the league, she's keeping it alive. There's a difference. You can have a burst in the league, but I got to be honest, I'm a little worried because Caitlin, let's say she has a 10-year career and she lights it up for 6 of them, right? When it's over, it's over. Unless they start really paying attention to those who have talent in the league and pushing that product as opposed to this other nonsense that they're trying to keep alive. And I'm sorry, Angel Reese is not the answer, notwithstanding her triple-double recently.
Yeah, and I was going to point that out.
I know you were.
Because I was right behind the bench watching as she got her first career triple-double.
And you know what? Let's give her props because people will remember that more than they will remember the 4 points, the 2 for 7.
She knew I was there, so she was like, let me just go ahead and give Ro a happy Father's Day.
Look at that.
I actually put a wager on her, and I won, so it was only $172, but still.
Oh, what the heck? A win is a win. Why not?
Yeah, win is a win.
Win is a win.
They don't pay a lot for the same type of bet you would make on the NBA.
Right.
You can make that same exact bet for the WNBA, and the payout is not as high. So
what would it have been if it was the NFL? It was the NBA. What would
probably about 500.
About 500? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, whatever. Anyway, also in the news, millions across the country, as we mentioned, attended the No Kings protest in opposition to the perceived lawless actions of President Trump as an administration. As one critic described it, he said it was like holding a no-meat protest at a vegetarian restaurant that hadn't changed the menu. Might I add that critic was your very own Reese on the Radio. That's what he was. That's what he was. And many people and other critics pointed out you're holding a no king protest in a country where you weren't barred from holding a No Kings protest. Because if he were a king, he could have kept you from expressing your constitutional right to protest and shut it all down. And that didn't happen. So, as I said, it's like holding a no-meat protest at a vegetarian restaurant that had no plans to change the menu or hadn't changed the menu. It's dumb. It's stupid. And I think that was the reason why, because a lot of people pointed out I was just being a little bit sad and crazy. Anyway, let's get to the phones. I'm sure you want to probably respond to Alicia's phone call. If you do, let's get to them now. 860-522-WTIC. Let's go to Tom in Thomaston. Hey, Tom.
Hey, hello. Yeah, I definitely want to chime in on her call. But first with Gino, it proves that emotions ruin your thought and ruin common sense. Because the left hates Trump, so they don't think clearly. Mm-hmm. Gino was jealous that he didn't get Caitlin Clark, and he said those statements.
You know, it's so funny because I didn't want to mention that, Tom, because that's what a lot of people said online, that he was upset that she didn't become a Husky. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the case, maybe, but I mean, I thought that was a little unfair, but maybe there's some truth. I don't know.
Yeah. He's like probably the best women's coach ever. You've got to see her talent. How could he not? Now, no one knew she was going to be so good so fast.
Right.
Pointing out she's got took her 40 games to get 9 double-doubles, and it took Taurasi like 500 games.
Wow.
The woman's going to be great. She's going to win an MVP, and she's going to lead her team to a title.
Without a doubt.
Just when is the question? So when you get caught up in your emotions, you don't think rationally.
Yeah.
And
all right,
that's
so
all subjects.
you wanted to jump on the Alicia conversation earlier about the war in Iran dealing with them. What do you want to say about that?
I don't know where the military is going. I mean, we're already in it. We've got defense missiles.
Right.
We can't put troops on the ground. But what we need to give Israel are those 30-pound bunker busters. You need 2 of them.
Yeah.
One goes first to go halfway down, and the second goes right behind it to get to it. It's proven that those bombs will penetrate, and that's what we need to give Israel to get this done once and for all.
Yeah, I look, again, I do agree, and it's got to be Israel's war. And I know you're right. We are on a defensive stance, to protect Tel Aviv because, they're firing, some 350 missiles so far into town square. So, yeah, I mean, on the defensive side, yes, but we cannot, you're right. We can't have boots on the ground. We have to avoid any conflict whatsoever. But the only way that's avoided is if we find out where and if, well, I shouldn't say if, because they are here, but where there are, quote, unquote, cells sitting in our country who may attack to provoke us into a conflict where we have to put boots on the ground. Because that's the only way.
Reese, that's the problem, though. We've let them in. They're here.
Oh, I know.
They might be they probably are our next door neighbors.
Yeah. You're
smiling and saying nice things.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's just how severe, the terrorism is.
Yeah. I mean, as much as that we are seeing illegals being kicked out of the country, and many people will make the argument that they're all, of Hispanic or Latin descent, I just pray and hope that the eye is on the ball for other nationals, as it were, who came into the country. We saw a boatload of Chinese. We saw a boatload of Pakistani, a boatload of people from those Middle East countries come in as well. So if we've got tracking on them, even if it's covert, which I'm sure it is, but we need to make sure that we're removing those people as well. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you, sir.
100%.
You got
100%.
it, sir. You got it. Let's go to Rob in Meriden. Hello, sir.
Yes, let me get you on a speaker. I miss, just for what it's worth, I appreciate you picking up the call. I miss the Tom, but we all carry on. Yeah, I had a couple topics, if you don't mind. One is about the NBA, and one is about Puff City or whatever you call his name, Sean Combs.
Okay, how about this one? Did you want to say something about the WNBA that we were just having a conversation about?
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing about Caitlin Clark, I
Yes.
just think of one word when I see her. I just think of class.
Class.
She's got class.
Yeah, I give that to her, too. She's always been very poised, and no matter how she's treated on the court, she still comes back and she does her job. She does, she's not there to she's not like a lot of other people who are doing the flamboyant stuff. She goes out there and she performs.
Yeah, there's a girl, sorry to interrupt you there.
No, that's right.
In the Liberty, a week ago, I watched and the thing is, they should say who these teams are. When they see the Thunder, you don't know what the city the Thunder is.
Yeah.
Or this or that. But the Liberty, one girl a week ago on the Liberty, they were undefeated, but they lost against Caitlin Clark's team in the ENF Fever. One woman before that game, before they lost on Liberty, she's rebounded 29 times. Rebounds in one game.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, that's a lot of rebounds for one game.
I think that's got to be a misprint. But the other thing I was thinking, it's got it, but maybe it's true. But, Liberty seems pretty good. And, Caitlin, what she's getting, whatever. It ain't going to bother her. It's going to make her stronger.
Right.
But, did you ever hear, you must have heard of Howard Hughes. He was like a recluse, rich guy.
Yeah.
He made an airplane made out of wood. But then, did you ever hear of Hugh Hefner?
You mean the Playboy mogul?
Yeah.
What about him?
So, if Sean Puff Diddy had his name as Hugh Hefner, would he be sitting in the cage right now?
I don't. Now that,
I don't know. But, hey, you have a great show.
Thank you, man.
Keep up the good
I
work.
appreciate you. I don't know if Hefner's ever been accused of anything remotely close to what we've seen with Hugh Hefner. I mean, I know there's an ick factor when it comes to him that I've heard from a couple of his girlfriends, as they were called. I don't know what do you call? I don't know. What do you call those? Yeah, I guess you refer to them as girlfriends. But yeah, I mean, we heard some.
I mean, when you got an old man that age and his whole house is full of 21 and 22-year-old,
who's that?
19-year-old.
Who's
that's
that?
Hugh Hefner.
Oh yeah, I mean, but I'm
Like
just
that's creepy automatically.
No, that's what I said. That's what you heard me say. That I said there's a lot of ick stuff in there with this elderly man with all of these young, half-dressed women inside of the house. Like I said, I look at that and I just go, you know what it is? Let me put it this way. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here. But when you're a teenager and you see Hugh Hefner, you go, wow, that's cool. Then you get older and you get married and you kind of go, I don't know if that's cool. And I know what it is. I'll tell you what the difference is. You become a father or you become old enough to be one. And if you have a niece or like someone who's a young lady in your family who's related to you, then you look at Hugh Hefner as an older person. Like, what do you say? Have you have a favorite niece or even a daughter? If like your daughter's a daddy's girl kind of deal, you will immediately see Hugh Hefner as something like, I don't know if I can, because that's somebody's daughter that's there. And you're not thinking about that when you're a teenage boy. You're just not even in your 20s. You're not thinking about that. But the mind shifts when you're old enough to have your own daughter or your own child, for that matter. So that's why I look at it and just go, I don't know. And the older he got, it didn't seem better. It just didn't. It had its limits. That's all I'm saying. Just had its limits. Anyway, that's headlines for you. And, of course, your phone calls. If you wish to opine, give us a call at 800-860. Oh, I wish we had an 800 number. 860-522-WTIC. 860-522-9842. When we come back, The Independent did a list of countries that you can leave to live in if you don't want to live here in the United States. And we have a large growing sentiment of people who do not want to live here. So when we come back, I'm going to play the list for you and the requirements to live in those countries. Now, remember, these are the most sought after countries to move to. Many people have moved to these countries. They include Mexico. They include Canada. They include Portugal. They include, I think, Taiwan. I think it is. Or Thailand, one of those two. But they will we'll play it for you. They've got a breakdown of what it takes to get into those countries. And I found something odd in all of them. In particular, Mexico. What happens if you go into Mexico illegally? The penalties are harsh. Let me start by saying this. You can end up paying upwards of $26,000 if you are caught and fined for illegally going into Mexico. On the low end, it's $16,000. The only question I can ask is, imagine we had done that for the millions of people who had come into the country. Let's say forget about the due process. Let's say forget about kicking them out. Let's say we keep them. We find them, we locate them, and we hand them a bill. Mexico does it. If you get caught, you get arrested, it's a felony. Okay? It's a felony. But according to Mexico, in that felony, you also get a fine of anywhere to, it's 300,000 to 500,000 pesos, which work out to $16,000 to $26,000. Can you imagine that? Imagine having to make somebody pay that amount. You're not going to get deported. Here's your bill. Crossing the border illegally. I'm just saying. We'll take a break. We'll play that video for you when we return, so stick around. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC NewsTalk 1080.
It's Reese on the Radio. Ask your doctor if common sense is right for you. On NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
All right, welcome to your Monday, Reese on the Radio on WTIC NewsTalk 1080. So you may have seen a lot of your brethren running around screaming, America sucks. America is not the greatest country in the world. There are others. I'm sure there are, in your opinion. Many of us love this country. Some people think it's farcical. Some people I've even had conversations with have called my patriotism a joke. And I've never, I'm not bullied by that. I listen to a lot of these people, it's like, oh, you love America. You kickstand for America. America, greatest country. They ain't never been good to you, boy. Okay, I remember that. But there are a lot of people. It's a growing sentiment. Not recognizing, not seeing the forest for the trees, not recognizing that your ability to protest your country is unheard of anywhere else in the world. Just is. It's unheard of. And I know deep down, every one of those people know that to be true. I think that this country celebrates the complainers. Oh, hell, it's a cottage industry. I'm in it. I'm in it. I can honestly say that. I try. That's my thing on talk radio that's different from everybody else. I'm not here to complain. I'm not sitting up here talking about woe is me. I know who we are, where we are, and what we're doing. So I could complain all day. That'd be boring to me. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. You'll hear me say that. I used to get yelled at by program directors. Why wouldn't you cover that story today? It's all anyone's talking about. I'm going, yeah, and I'm kind of done talking about it. I'm kind of done. I mean, what else can I contribute to that story? Many people, and I know right now, there's some people who are shaking their head just going, well, that's not good. So, fine. But I know I'm right on this. So this conversation about the United States being an awful place, many of you will tell those folks, oh, if you don't like it here, go somewhere else. And they can. But it may not be as easy as many of them would like. The Independent did a video that I caught by accident, where they break down some of the countries that are the easiest to move to. And again, folks, easiest to move to out of all the countries.
So which countries are the easiest to move to? Portugal. It's become a hotspot for Americans. According to Forbes, between 2017 and 2022, the number of Americans there jumped by 239%. Portugal has two popular options. The temporary stay visa for digital nomads, which you'll need proof of income for, allows people to stay for up to 4 years.
You need proof of income to stay there up to 4 years.
For a permanent alternative, there's the Golden Visa, which requires a minimum investment of 500,000 euros or roughly $544,000.
Okay, so Portugal, to move there, you have to make an investment in the country of $544,000. Again, this is a country that saw, up to 250% increase of Americans going there? We don't require that to come into this country. An investment of that? No, it's across the border. Pick a strawberry. Huh? Now, would you consider that fairer than our immigration system? We just ask you to pay the proper fees when you come in, upwards of $10,000 to $15,000. Some have paid as high as $25,000, but Portugal wants $500,000+ to move into their country. And we're talking 4-year and 10-year visas. Visas!
If you're interested in living in Asia, Thailand offers a long-term resident visa for skilled or remote workers as well as retirees. It requires a personal income of $80,000 a year.
Okay. You've got to come in with a job paying $80,000 a year to go to Thailand. Right? You got it. Coming in with a job paying $80,000 a year. We don't do that here. Again, Thailand, one of the hotbeds of where Americans are going to go live. They're at least getting jobs that are paying, so they're contributing, I would assume. That's a pretty good pay.
But if you make less than that, you can show additional documents as proof of qualification, like a master's degree.
Hey, you can't make the $80,000 a year on a job, but you just come in with a master's degree and you can move in there. I'm sorry, I didn't put this together. The Independent did. I didn't ask them to, but, they had to make a point. Plenty of Americans are moving to these countries, celebrating it. I can't imagine one person is going to be grabbing their passport, moving to any of these countries. I don't think they've got the funds. Don't you think? Doesn't it seem like we're a little fairer or a little more lenient when it comes to crossing that southern border?
This visa allows you to stay in Thailand for up to 10 years. And finally, Canada. It's a bit more complex, but for skilled workers, there's the Express Entry Program. You'll need to qualify through the Canadian government's point system to be eligible. All of these visas have different requirements, fees, and can change from year to year. But if you're serious about making the move, there are options. Just be prepared for a bit of paperwork. Mexico.
Now, there's a lot of paperwork. Now, I saved this and I cut it because Mexico was the first on the list of popular places to go. Mexico is on this list. And the reason why I saved Mexico for last and I edited it to put it at the end is because of one thing that caught my eye about Mexico and being able to immigrate there. You guys are all going to know it, and you're going to pay so much attention to it because I did too. A couple of years ago, maybe 30 years ago, I remember a comedian going on stage. I don't remember who he is, but if you do, let me know in the chat room or send it to me at reesonoradio.com. But I remember a comedian talking about living in the country all of his life and how much the country had changed, and said that now when I call one of these service centers up or I call an 800 number to get customer service help, that he started hearing press 1 for Spanish. There was a whole to-do being made about it. In fact, it was a national conversation about how much we were acclimating to people coming in from the southern border and not making English the language, the official language of the United States. It started a debate across the country. Are we an English-speaking country? Are we an English-speaking country? Thankfully, just recently, Donald Trump says that We are an English-speaking country. Signed an executive order. Congratulations. But here's the Independent talking about, do you want to migrate to Mexico? And listen to what their requirements are if you go there.
Mexico offers a temporary resident visa that can be renewed for up to 4 years. After that, you can apply for a permanent resident visa, but you will have to pass a Spanish language proficiency test. So which country?
A Spanish language proficiency test in order to stay in Mexico. Is that allowed here? Is anyone forced to take an English-speaking test here in the country? You have to take a Spanish proficiency test. That sounds very national to me. That sounds very, I don't know, nihilist. Is that what the kids are calling it today? I wouldn't pass if I was trying to go. Would any of these people who were running around L.A. with Mexican flags, would they be able? I know so many of them. Oh, hell, my own wife. My own wife barely speaks Spanish, and she's Mexican. But I think she's actually fooling me on that one because I've seen her listen to people speak Spanish and understand them. She may be fooling me on this one. She may be duping me altogether. She hasn't taught me any Spanish. That's why I have to put the letter O at the end of every English word. You know, the other day when we were having fajitas at the Mexican restaurant, I asked the waiter for more lettuce O for my fajita. That's what I did. Of course, my wife was ashamed of me, but you think that she would teach me the Spanish word for lettuce? No, of course not. She let me embarrass myself by just throwing the letter O at the back of it. You know, you got to get by. Oh, by the way, her brother did tell me that I had to put L in front of it. I asked the waiter for more El Lettuce-o. That's what I asked for. The waiter knew what I was talking about. They didn't. Right now, there's someone shaking their head just going, geez, Reese. What? My Mexican wife isn't teaching me any Spanish. If we were in Mexico, I'd probably be kicked out already. So I just want to let you know, Portugal, Taiwan, or Thailand, is it Thailand? Thailand. 50, can you believe that? And I looked up Mexico. If you go into that country illegally, they will fine you. In fact, do I still have it up here? No, I don't. They will fine you $16,000 to $26,000 and charge you with a felony. Imprison you and fine you, and then kick you out. And if you return, you can forget about it. You will stay indefinitely in prison. And in the research I did, they said the prison that they put you in is not very sanitary and has no real, let's just say, toilet options. So, yes, you will definitely be staying in what they call the S-hole of the Mexican prisons, without a doubt. So I'm just telling you folks out there, hating this country, at least you've got running water and a working toilet. So, like I said, hate it if you want to. You're free to do that here in the United States. I don't think you get so far in Mexico. Ridiculing that government. I can imagine. We'll take a break. Rama says, Spanish proficiency? You mean you can't rely on your Obama phone like the illegals do here? Not at all. We'll take a break. More news, more views, and your calls. 860-522-WTIC. It's Reese On The Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Wait a minute. Hold it. 100 candles on the cake? How are you going to blow those out? Imagine what kind of a mess you're going to make of the frosting.
All right, it's Reese On The Radio, and when we come back, we've got the winner of our Between Rounds dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe. Also, we got the stupidest thing I read today in the next hour. Why is local voting in Connecticut so bad? some reports saying that some of these elections that involve budget, not just say budget increases, but tax increases, are only seeing registered voters to the tune of 4%. 4% of all registered voters in a couple of towns. No one is showing up to local elections. And this is mind-boggling to the reporter who did the story in the Hartford Current. We'll talk about that as well. It was in the Sunday edition of the paper. Also, the stupidest thing I read today, you've got a choice. Live next to a MAGA Republican, or when we return, we'll tell you what that is. Who is the or? Also, Terry Moran of ABC News, recently fired from ABC News, just talked to Tim Miller of The Bulwark about his firing and what led him to his midnight tweet that got him fired. We'll talk about that as well. And then finally, we will get into this shooting situation with the alleged shooter, the killer of a state senator, former Speaker of the Senate, Speaker of the House, and another politician, and the some 70 people he had on this so-called hit list, and why some people are saying something is bogus. We were told there was a manifesto. Now there isn't one. The list of the politicians and others that he was going after seems a bit odd for someone who planned this out. Also, we found out he's being charged with second-degree murder and not first, which is premeditated. Many people are questioning that as well. It's actually in the top of Drudge Report with a big question mark. Second-degree murder? What are they not telling us? It's always more suspicious. And again, this is one of those cases where you can't trust what you're being told by elected officials, the news media, and our need for independent journalism grows every day. Because and I think it has everything to do with this, and I also want to address that in the next hour. Because there are a lot of people on the left, believe it or not, that are cheering that this gentleman, this shooter, this alleged murderer, appears to be a Trump voter. I'm going to break that down as well for those people who are patting themselves on the back, thinking that they got a little bit of shelter from this individual. I want to break that down in the next hour, so stick around for that. Was there something else? Oh, Bridgeport students. Why are Bridgeport kids getting moldy food? Why are Bridgeport kids getting moldy food for lunch? After we just reported they're getting some $211 million. Actually, it's a little more than $205 million. And then the next year, they're getting another $11 million in fiscal year 2026. With all of that money that's being spent in Bridgeport, why would the kids get prison-like cafeterias with moldy food? How is that possible?
Yeah, they should have a McDonald's in there.
That's what I'm saying with that kind of money. How is that? That sounds crazy to me. Where is this money going? One of the reports even says, and I'll read the whole report to you, but one of the reports says that the kids who are eating earlier, those kids are getting great meals or good meals. It's the latter. The kids who are getting the later lunches, they're getting the scraps. It's crazy. Let's get our first check of weather and traffic, plus the news. I think Bob Cox is in for Jason Catarina with weather. And Mark Christopher. No? Okay, maybe not. All right, so I don't know who's in, but Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
All right, coming up in this hour, like I said, stupidest thing I read today. Also, Connecticut voting. Connecticut voting is really, really bad, just locally. This story sort of outlines it. It turns out, and I talked about this weeks ago, it turns out no one, and I mean no one, is showing up to vote on things that affect taxes even in their towns. For some of these towns, 4.4% of registered voters are showing up. Referendums are getting passed with like a number less than 250 votes in the whole thing. 250 votes. I got to talk about that in a little bit. But before that, let's give a round of applause to today's Between Rounds winner. It's Mina D. out of Wyndham. She is the recipient of a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, your bagel bakery and sandwich cafe. That will be giving her, again, a dozen bagels a month for 6 months. And you can find the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe, known as Between Rounds, in South Windsor, Vernon, and Manchester. Also at your Big Y store. So Mina D., thank you for participating. If you want to participate to win a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com. That's REESE ontheradio.com. And then you'll see the little drawing there. Put all your information in there. You must be a resident of Connecticut and has not won in the last 6 months in order for you to participate. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Karen Thomas over at Friendly Hands Food Bank and Jerry of Between Rounds. Today, they presented a check to Friendly Hands, and that was our thing in June. Not June. What was it? April. In April, we did the Reese on the Radio peanut butter and jelly sandwich giveaway, or the buying to donate to Friendly Hands Food Bank. So they presented them with the check, I think yesterday, if not today. I think it's today. They finally presented them with the check, and I'll find out exactly what that check was for. All right, let's get another check of our weather and traffic with Jason Caterino, who is back, and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. Welcome back, Jason.
President of the Chris Murphy Fan Club, Reese on the Radio, on News Talk 1080, WTIC.
So the Hartford Current has this article, and it says many Connecticut towns offer direct democracy. Most residents sit it out amid dearth of civic engagement. In Bloomfield, a referendum in May on the budget showed plenty of voter discontent. The no vote prevailed by a 4-to-1 ratio, with nearly 13% of all eligible voters in town opposing it. 13%. But it passed. Just 20 miles away, Berlin voters gave a more mixed message than that same month. They narrowly rejected a budget 320 to 292 fewer than 4 out of every 100 voters showed up with, and no votes were cast by barely 2% of eligible voters. But it failed anyway, and Berlin had to hold a new referendum. The surprisingly different outcomes are because rules for referendums vary from town to town. Typically, most residents pay little attention. More than half of Connecticut's communities don't have referendums and leave the decisions to their town council or board of selectmen. And even if communities where referendums are standard, a huge majority of voters don't participate. A budget referendum where a third or more people show up to vote usually signals a significant controversy. And some communities often have meager single-digit turnouts. Still, civic organizations and fiscal watchdog groups are big supporters of keeping the system, and they're not alone. Quote, I'm a firm believer in referenda. I hate to see them go, said political science professor Gary Rose of Sacred Heart University. I wish we had ballot initiatives too. Town meetings and referenda are quintessential New England politics at work. Like many, he laments how turnout seems to have dropped in recent decades. Quote, single engagement in local politics have really gone down significantly. Some of what is the decline of newspapers. Some of the partisan stuff going on today, people aren't pleased with the tone, he says. There's been a dearth of civic engagement. There's a transitory nature in a lot of communities, so many people don't feel as invested in them. Still, doing away with referendums and town meetings would only make it worse, he said. Quote, in principle, it's a great idea, direct democracy. This according to Jonathan Worthen, who's a professor at Southern Connecticut State University. He said it's exactly what the intention of democracy is. But in some towns, the numbers aren't there. Sometimes it's a matter of when they get the word out. This is what I found crazy. The good news is that they had a budget referendum that passed with only 270 residents voted. Democrats said in a Facebook post that this is less than 3% of registered voters in Old Saybrook. 270 votes. 3%. You might have remembered I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, talking about the number of registered voters, in the state of Connecticut that did not participate in the gubernatorial race between Stefanowski and Lamont. I think the number was in or around 1.2 to 1.3 million registered voters that played no role in that election, even though the margin between the two candidates were some 174, 175,000. Imagine if the turnout had been greater. Could it have been closer? Could Lamont have lost? It's possible, because I look at the disengagement thing in a weird way. Some people say that there are more Democrats disengaged than conservatives. I tend to agree with that. And I see it often. I'm maybe missing something there. Because I know Republicans in Connecticut are frustrated by the one-party rule. In my view, I see that as reason for more conservatives and Republicans and libertarians to be more involved. Democrats, on the other hand, there's a degree of disenfranchisement in voting, and another part of it is confidence in party rule. Like that sort of, we're a blue state, why worry? So if there's anything in that 1.2 million, 1.3 million, I would say a majority of those people would be on the left, and probably so more progressive than moderate Democrats. At least that's from my getting. But some of these, how do you get the word out? Like, how do they not go door to door? Because I would imagine if anyone is in opposition to a budget proposal, and if you know what those numbers are, if you know that there are only 270 people who voted, if I hear that information and I want to stop the onslaught of tax burden in my town, I take those numbers and go crazy. I don't even have to work that hard to get more. 270 people showed up to a vote like that. I would pound the pavement every weekend beforehand to get out the vote. It just seems crazy. 860-522-WTIC. Let's get the mic in Plainville. How are you, sir?
Really, Gino, okay? You just stick both feet in your mouth, okay? You're not happy with what you got.
You're really mad at him about that.
I'm telling you, you ran up the score over the last 30, 40 years on a lot of teams. You win by 60, 80 points. That's a cardinal sin as a coach. You don't do that to the opponent.
Listen, are you really bent out of shape that he's getting? Look, he's getting it handed to him about the Caitlin Clark commentary. I don't think that there's been a response by him or even coming back and saying
he acts like he invented the game of basketball. Oh, you're a coach. That's it. You're one of how many Division I schools?
But
okay?
Listen, don't forget, I understand you're not really a fan of his. Mike, have you lost all favor with UConn basketball? Is that you're kind of?
I never liked you. I never liked UConn. I'm from Connecticut. Okay. I went to a small college in the Northeast. Okay, all it is just a big money game. Oh yeah, UConn won. What does it do for the guy in the street that's working two jobs? Oh, it's a feel-good moment.
Mike's got an accent.
That's not me. I don't have to follow the crowd.
Just
like I'm not a Patriot fan or a Giant fan or a Yankee or a Mets fan.
Who are you? Wait. What? Are your teams like all across the map?
I've been a Celtic fan since I was 6 years old.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. That you'll get an applause for. I'm giving you an applause for that one. I'm a Celtics fan, too.
The best players
Ooh.
in an NBA court were in the 60s and 70s. I don't care what you got for three-point shooters. That's all they do.
Let me tell you something.
It's a shooting clinic.
Mike, don't get me started. I tried so hard watching these playoff games, which, again, was always my favorite. I mean, watching 82 games or whatever it is now, watching those games has always been boring. It's way too many games to be invested in it at like game 20. But I love the playoffs. But these playoffs, garbage.
Hey, I'm going to give you some advice again for the second time. Don't do it. Don't listen. You'd be better off playing against a 70-year-old like me that used to play. I'll wrap my knees.
I'm not going
to wear knee braces.
They've already turned me down. They said I insulted them. I did not insult them. Listen, I don't know what their deal is, but yes.
Let's get together and play. Maybe we can raise some money.
There you go. Exactly. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you, sir. Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. He's getting raked over the coals for it. Maybe this league, we'll give it one more year. One more year, we'll give this league, the WNBA, an opportunity to save itself from itself. Embrace Caitlin Clark. You know, change the logo to her. She could be the Jerry West of the league. You know, you could put her little silhouette, you know, maybe for shooting the three. That would be the WNBA logo. Just say, you know, call it the house that Caitlin built. Just come on, whatever.
I will say this.
Yes.
As much as you don't like Angel Reese, she had fans from Louisiana there.
Yeah, I agree. I know she did.
And the prices before the game was $17. The game before with her there was they were $40 a ticket.
That's considerable.
So went up about $23 a ticket, and it was pretty good seats too. So.
Well, what did you hear about Caitlin Clark's games?
Yeah, her games are ridiculous.
Yeah,
they're sold out.
They are sold out, and those tickets are upwards of $85 to $95.
Yeah. So she definitely has the juice. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just give it to her. Who cares about? You know what? You can turn this into a windfall for the league if they just embrace her. Just give her kudos. You know, somebody made this great comparison before we go to break. I love this. I think it was Charlie Kirk was talking to, and if those of you who watch online, Charlie Kirk is from Turning Point USA, and he goes to colleges where he sits in a booth, and college kids come up and ask him questions about something. And this young kid walks up and says, "Hey, can I ask you something that not politics related?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Who's better, Kobe or LeBron?" And it's still one of my favorite exchanges Charlie Kirk has because of what he says in breaking it down. And that is, Charlie Kirk asked the kid, let him go first, who do you think is better? And the kid goes, LeBron, without a doubt, hands down. And Charlie Kirk says, okay, let me explain to you why why Jordan is. And I think, true to form, Charlie Kirk brings the facts, and he always brings the heat. And that is, what did each man do for the sport overall? And I think this applies to Caitlin Clark. When Jordan was playing the game, Jordan made that sport international. There wasn't a kid anywhere, even if they didn't watch or play basketball, who didn't know that man's name. And it increased the viewership and the interest in the sport, bar none. It was its most successful, its most profitable during his tenure. That was 6 straight years, even with the year off, of that man dominating. He made the NBA. He was the NBA. There were arguments to take Jerry West off the emblem and put Jordan on it. That is bar none. LeBron, during his tenure, has caused the entire league to lose viewership, sponsorship, and interest. He has literally overseen the demise and the interest in the sport, and its criticism grow.
Negative.
No, he has.
Negative.
No, excuse me. Are you going to tell me that the numbers for NBA are down or up? They're down. The interest is down.
That doesn't have anything to do with LeBron James.
Well, no, but no, for the guy who's supposed to be the GOAT, in comparison, I'm looking at the legacy that both of those players have left.
Yeah, when he was at his apex as well, in his prime, the numbers was sky high as well.
He still oversaw the demise of it. I mean, I believe that I believe he sullied the league by making it more political than it did sports, because it just isn't anymore. I think Steph Curry has done more for the sport than LeBron did. And I just think, as a morale.
People think Steph Curry is the reason why the game is being ruined. Because
of the three-pointers?
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, that's like saying Ray Allen ruined, not Ray, is it Ray Allen? Who's the, Ray Allen. It's like saying Ray Allen ruined the sport.
Nah, those guys were taking 15 threes a game.
Ray Allen doesn't he have the, no, Steph Curry has the NBA final three-pointer.
Steph has anything three-point.
Yeah, he has. But he took it from Ray Allen, right? Because Ray Allen used to have the NBA Finals three-point scoring record, and I think that's now been taken over by Steph Curry. I have to look that up. I'm almost certain it is. But I remember Ray Allen when he won. That was the season that they beat. When they beat the Lakers. I'm almost certain of that. Or was it, no, when he was with, maybe he was with Miami. I'm getting them wrong. Which one was it? I can't remember now. Now I have to look it up.
There will be no LeBron slander, though. No LeBron
What
slander.
do you mean? It's not slander. It's just stating the facts.
No.
Are you telling me that you believe that LeBron was a more successful ambassador to the NBA than Jordan is?
He's right up there.
Okay, fine.
Right. There's 1A and 1B.
1A and 1B? Can't we just say 1 and 2?
No, it's 1A and 1B.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but LeBron is clearly 1A?
No,
he's 1B. Of course.
1A.
Okay.
1A.
I don't know. I think that debate, it's going to linger on forever, but I think it's 100% wrong. I think it's wrong. I'm going to take some people are in the comment section in Facebook. I'm going to read some of those when we come back. I don't know. Mark Christopher, Jason Katarina, they've got weather and traffic. Mark, come on. Who do you got? Who oversaw the most successful time during the NBA?
Most influence in the NBA?
Yeah.
What are my choices?
LeBron versus Jordan.
Not even close, Jordan. Not even close.
Yeah, it's not even close. I'm just saying.
Close, yeah.
I think he made it worldwide. Anyway, that's my
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Jordan by far had the most impact on the NBA. No question. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah,
this traffic report being brought.
Stay locked in. Reese on the Radio is on WTIC. News Talk 1080.
I got to read some of these comments that are in this. You always kick a hornet's nest when you have to have these conversations about sports figures. Susan is in the chat room, says Michael Jordan, number one. Obviously. Let me see. What else is in here? This was, let me read this particular. Oh, here it is. Richard A. says, Jordan gets more respect than LeBron because he spent most of his career with one team, the Bulls, where LeBron kept jumping ship in search of glory. Now, I'm inclined to agree with that. This is, okay, I'll tell this story probably because it will expose my bias, but I think in a good way. And I know a lot of sports fans who grew up with a team will understand where I'm coming from. And I acknowledge that what I'm about to say is unrealistic in the free agency era. But when I was a kid, I loved Reggie Jackson. And I understand that Reggie left, what did he leave? The Oakland A's? Right? He left the A's to come to the Yankees. I understand that was a trade, but I didn't understand that when I was a kid. I just knew that he played for the Yankees. And when he did, he was fantastic. He was successful. He made me love the game. I loved watching the game with my pop, listening to it on a transistor radio outside in the backyard. I remember it vividly. And then he was gone. Same thing happened to me another time. And again, I left sports after 77, I think? 77, 78, as I got older. Didn't really pay all that much attention to baseball. Then we had the Mets, 1985 and 1986. People remember 1986 more than they remember 1985, but I remember 1985. But 1986, there was a host of people who I fell in love with. And after that championship, most of them, all gone. They even got rid of my favorite relief pitcher, Orozco. You know, who famously threw the glove up in the air at the end of the game, never to be found again? Yeah. All of those guys were gone. The captain of the team, Ray Knight, third baseman, gone. Len Dykstra, gone. Everybody I was in love with, gone. Traded or let go, just gone. It broke my heart. And I hated sports ever since. So moving around from place to place, making it a singular event, always destroyed the sport for me. I think it did. I think for a lot of people it did. I don't want to have to follow a player all around to different teams. I want a team that I can love and respect. That's all I'm saying. Jason Caterina's got weather. And Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. I'm just saying. Yep. That's where I am.
All right. Well, if you're heading 91 northbound in Windsor, we have a crash just after 35 A and B. It's in the right lane. Involves a tractor trailer and a vehicle. So you want to stay left there. And it looks like delays are back to the I-84 interchange behind that. Southbound 91 just a little slow, 33 to 32. Westbound 84 slowing, approaching the Bulkley Bridge up to 48 Asylum. 84 eastbound losing some speed now from 48 Capitol Avenue down to the Bulkley Bridge. 291 westbound slowing as you emerge with 91 north because of that accident. 2 eastbound's okay, Glastonbury to Marlboro. 9 northbound slowing Harbor Park to the Ariconi Bridge. We have a crash northbound right at the end of the Wilbercross Parkway in Meriden. 3 vehicles. It's between 67 and 68 N and E. The right and center lanes are blocked, so you want to stay to the left. And right now, you've got delays pushing back toward Miller Avenue behind that. This is also slowing traffic 91 northbound between 15 and exit 17, rubbernecking at that northbound crash. Westbound 84 is slowing, approaching exit 22 in Waterbury up to the Mixmaster. 84 eastbound slowing by 18 in Waterbury. And we're seeing delays now, 84 eastbound Danbury 3 to 5, again from 9 in Newtown to 11. South 95 New Haven slowing 46 down to 43 in West Haven. Traffic and weather together on the 8's WTIC News Talk 1080.
Brought to you by Staples. How many times have we all said, that was easy? Well, the Staples Easy button is back, and it's got us saying it again for custom prints, shipping services, even passport photos. Plus, quality products delivered next day to over 98% of the U.S. Staples, that was easy.
WTIC weather.
A beautiful day out there today. Tonight, mostly cloudy and mild, the low down to 63. Lots of clouds, a shower in spots for our Tuesday, the high 73. A couple of showers Tuesday night, then Wednesday, more clouds and sun, warm and humid with a thunderstorm in parts of the area, the high 79. Hot day Thursday, approaching the record, but falling just a little short. That record was set just last year, as a matter of fact. A mix of clouds and sun, a gusty thunderstorm in the afternoon that could produce some hail and damaging winds, the high of 94. Not as hot Friday, still warm. Sun and clouds with a passing afternoon shower to round out the week and the high of 84. Saturday, a mix of clouds and sun and a dry day to kick off the weekend with the high of 85. Right now, it's 75 in Mansfield, 73 in Meriden, 75 Bristol, and also Hartford. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
We have something to buzz about. Call the Bee. Connecticut trusted HVAC plumbing and drain professionals now offer electrical service. Call the Bee is ready to keep your home powered up. Visit callthebee.com. That's callthelletterb.com to schedule a speedy electrical service today.
We promise fast, friendly, reliable service. Visit us at calljoetheplumber.com.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about your thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Spring is here, and so is the perfect time to refresh your home. Don't let another beautiful season pass with a kitchen or bathroom you don't love. For over 35 years, Cristino Kitchens, your family-owned expert in Glastonbury, has been transforming homes just like yours. Our experienced team will guide you through every step, from inspired design to flawless installation, ensuring your project blooms beautifully. Don't wait. Visit CristinoKitchens.com today to schedule your free consultation and make make this spring your season of stunning home renewal. That's CHRISTINO kitchens.com.
Feel like everything's clouded by doubt? Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com. Our psychics are available to talk 24/7. Guarantee, if it's not life-changing, is free. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
We asked parents to share their journey of adopting teens.
They changed who I am because I can't see life without them in it.
Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. Same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
The self-proclaimed love child of Rush Limbaugh.
They're running a strange program, y'all.
Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
That's because it's true. That's because it's true. Let's do it.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
You know, with all of the No Kings protests that are taking place all over the country, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well in the next hour, some of the writers, these people who are so-called journalists who write these articles, make me laugh because they think that this kind of commentary and this kind of writing is still considered cool or against the grain or edgy, and it's not. It's quite foolish. And this article probably takes the cake. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago I played you the video from the Daily Caller asking women in New York who would they rather date, Hunter Biden or Donald Trump Jr.? And an overwhelming number of them picked Hunter Biden because they could fix them. Well, then you'll understand this. A woman by the name of Cindy Steinberg did this article in Medium magazine. I'd rather live next door to MS-13 than MAGA morons, as she put them. Can we swap them out in a prisoner exchange with Bukele? So this woman, in an attempt to be edgy, says that she would rather have the prisoners in Bukele's El Salvadorian prison live next door to her, MSNBC members who traffic in women and drugs and far worse, sometimes both. She would rather have those people live next door to her because someone who is a MAGA moron is far worse. But it wasn't bad enough because I saw that and just went, nice try, dingbat. I would have just left it at that. But something said, this woman obviously writes other inflammatory things, right? Of course she did. So to add on to the stupidest things I've read today, and I want to thank unapologetically Eric for giving me this info on this writer. By the way, you can contribute as well to the stupidest thing you read today. Just send it to me at reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. These are some of the other articles written by this ne'er-do-well, Cindy Steinberg, like this one. I love my husband. I'm still withholding sex until the patriarchy falls. DEI for voters. How to make democracy and capitalism more equitable. How about this one? Ladies, keep your last name when you get married. This is another one, going towards the religious. Jesus was the original woke socialist. MAGA would have crucified him. Racism claims another victim. Carmelo Anthony, the young man who stabbed Austin Metcalf in the chest at a track meet. Racism claims another victim. Carmelo Anthony. Sitting while black is deadly in MAGA country. Apparently for MAGA, there's no such thing as a straight man. Men are the gayer sex after all. This is all written by Cindy Steinberg. I'm not going to say anything about her looks. I'm not going to say it. I'm trying really, really hard. I don't want to be petty. If you're interested in going to look her up, you can. Make your own comments. Make your own comments. Misogynists hate feminism because it teaches women how to protect themselves from predators. I wonder if it helps them protect themselves against MS-13 members who Cindy would rather have living next door to her. I know the objective is to be as inflammatory and as outrageous as you possibly can. But when I told you these people are toddlers with a Molotov cocktail, this is all you need to know. These are the articles she's written. And these things, by the way, if you go to the Medium website, these articles that she writes, you get an opportunity to either applaud them or to give them a thumbs down. Overwhelmingly, people are applauding these articles. And these are so-called feminists, I guess, who agree with this young lady. But yeah, these are the articles that they're writing, and they think this stuff is edgy. That's what they think. So we got to take another check of weather and traffic. Let's get to Jason Caterina and Mark Christian. No? What am I doing? We didn't just do that? No, what am I doing? I'm looking at the hour. I'm totally past that. My bad. I apologize. I'm really looking at this. I just saw the 8, and I thought I was over my time. I'm telling you, I'm never going to get used to this time switch. I'm never going to do it. Not until I force myself to. I'm just not. My apologies. Thank you for telling me that. Vance Boelter. This is the man who's responsible for shooting members of Congress. And apparently, there was supposed to be a hit list that is causing or giving more questions than answers. But let me give you the backdrop of all of this for those of you who missed it. Some 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, this individual, Vance Boelter, drove with a somewhat very similar police vehicle and drove to members of Congress's homes in that state and shot them in the middle of the night. The only reason why they were able to catch up to him is because of a random check of one of the elected officials' homes was because they had gotten an alert of the first shooting. The shootings took place about 8 miles apart from each other, from the first to the second, where police arrived just as a routine checkup to check up on elected officials to make sure that they were okay and nothing was going on, that this was, something that may turn serial. As you all know, police arrived there, ended up exchanging gunfire with the suspect who went into the home, and we're now learning, went into the home, shot the elected official and her husband, and shot a service dog, we're also learning, and escaped out the back. Manhunt ensued, and he has finally been caught. And now he's in custody. Now, what is the big deal that everyone's talking about, after the fact? Well, aside from the fact that everyone online is doing what they do, is that this manifesto, we were told, was found inside the police vehicle. Now is turning out to be a non-existent manifesto. What turned out to be a list of 70 elected officials and others who were on this alleged hit list, something odd has come from this. What was the odd thing? Well, some of the elected officials are either no longer in office or dead, meaning they're no longer alive. They died beforehand. So this hit list appears sloppy in a lot of ways. Now, many people are making a big deal about Vance Boelter being appointed by Tim Walz to his business, a select business a group, whatever it is. That means nothing. People are trying to make hay out of that in order to take pot shots at Tim Walz. Listen, it's a dumb look. I'm sorry, and people are going to say that, but Reese, no. Tim Walz having a bad judge of character, what else is new? Okay? What else is new? How would Tim Walz know that this guy was this kind of lunatic? I don't know. There's no way of him knowing. Okay? Let's just be realistic here. Is he batting 1,000 on his picks? Yes, obviously he makes bad decisions, but this is kind of piling on, and it's ridiculous. I won't take part in it. All right? I won't. I know a lot of people are doing that online, but I'm not going to do it. Yes, Lori, he was a pastor, right? And I've watched the videos of him speaking at several denominations, preaching the word of God, which means that the only thing I can say about Vance, if indeed he shot and killed these individuals, he's a hypocrite. As a man of God, he would know, thou shalt not kill. So this man is obviously not a man of faith and not a man who follows faith to the letter. If he believed that taking people's lives was the right thing to do or the righteous thing to do. I am finally understanding all of the No Kings flyers that were sitting in the police vehicle. Because I think he was trying to point out the hypocrisy. Because it is alleged that he was going after abortion providers and people who were pro-abortion or pro-choice, where, in this case, he was saying that people were pretending to be kings or gods. I think he was sort of doing a little nudging of the people having a protest on that day. That's what I surmised from the No Kings. Many people took it as, he's one of the No Kings protesters. No, when we really found out who he is, and if it's true he voted for Trump, so what? It doesn't matter. No more than it matters about James Hodgkinson. My whole point about the James Hodgkinson thing was James Hodgkinson promoting the rhetoric of the people he followed? Yes, he was. Why? Because James Hodgkinson on his Facebook page was repeating the rhetoric he had heard from the people he followed most, Rachel Maddow and Bernie Sanders, that Republicans were killing people. And what James Hodgkins thought he was doing was attacking those Republicans, stopping those Republicans before they took more lives. Justifiable? No. The same way I feel about Vance Boelter. You can't scream that you're pro-life while you're taking lives. You cannot. Second, everybody can stand by and do the whole, he was a Trump supporter. Or look, the Republicans, they have whack jobs too. Yep, no doubt. But the difference between us and you is that we do not send letters of adoration to Vance Boelter in prison, trying to marry him, or say how he's bringing a broader conversation into abortion in this country, or how he's finally opening Americans' eyes to the debate between pro-life and pro-choice. We are not in any way trying to justify or legitimize his behavior. Eric Mangione ring a bell? Yeah, that's not happening on our side. You see, the difference between you and us is that we can take a Trump supporter who takes human life and admonish him and say, no, that's not what we stand for. We don't stand with him. He is not one of us. I don't care who he voted for. That man is an animal and a cretin and deserves the death penalty. You see how that works? Real simple. But when you sit idly by and you toss your head back and forth like someone asked you what is a woman, while you try to figure out whether or not Eric Mangione Luigi Mangione, was a murderous piece of crud. While you try to weigh the options, like you're trying to figure out if boys should participate in girls' sports, if you're having a tug of war with your conscience about it, that's the difference between us and you. We're not struggling with condemnation. We can look at Vance Boelter and say, put that man in the gas chamber. He will never represent who we are and what we believe. While you will send Valentine's Day gifts to Luigi Mangione. That's the difference between you and us. Just so you know.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
I got some Gavin Newsom stuff that I wanted to play as well. I got to play it because I saw this over the weekend too, which I thought was pretty funny. It's Gavin Newsom. I think that this is Gavin Newsom's play when he runs for president in 2028. And it's weakness masquerading as strength. I didn't notice it before, but he is a gifted politician. Apparently, he uses this phrase a lot to describe everyone, from the president of the United States to anything. It is weakness masquerading as power. Listen for yourself. You would have never guessed it. This is Gavin Newsom, I think, within like 4 or 5 years.
A rising tide of oppression taking root in state houses, weaknesses masquerading as strength, small men.
He's just weakness masquerading as strength. He is weakness masquerading as strength. Weakness masquerading as strength. What I saw tonight was Donald Trump, weakness masquerading as strength. He's weakness masquerading as strength. He's a broken person. He's weakness masquerading as strength. He's a broken person. They're just weakness masquerading as strength. They're cosplaying. That's just weakness. Weakness masquerading as strength.
In all of those, let me give you a breakdown. Every one of those were different, talking about different things. Sometimes the same person, but different times. The first one, he was talking about random oppressors. I guess just anybody who oppresses anyone. Weakness. He talking about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Trump running again, then Trump debating, winning the primary, then debating Biden, then debating Kamala, then when Trump's about to win the election, then talking about ICE agents, and then the National Guard being deployed. All of those things using the same lines as weakness masquerading as strength. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be his go-to in the primaries, if not the general election of 2028. I thought that was odd, but somebody put that together. Good luck, Gavin. I don't know if his polling numbers have improved at all, but they're there.
Reese on the Radio is getting ready to drop some knowledge on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Drop it.
All right. In a minute, we'll talk a little bit about the Bridgeport students that are complaining about moldy school food. Also, an article in, The Day, written by Lee Howard. I sent him a message today. He's got this article that says, "Don't mess with the libraries," talking about the books that are inside libraries, of course, that are questionable for children. He seems to be a person that supports the libraries putting his books in there. So we're going to see if we can have him as a guest this week, or if he's willing to come on and talk about his article. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, but to the phones we go. 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. Let's go to John in Meriden. Hello, John. How are you, sir? John, you got to turn your thing down. There you go. Hey, John. John? Okay, maybe not. Sorry, John. Got to let you go. Let's go to Rob in Middletown. Hey, Rob.
Hey, brother. I was listening to talk about some of the requirements for citizens in other countries.
Yeah.
Now, I can remember immigration issue being on the table here for quite a long time, back to the 80s when Genesis used to sing about it. And ain't it funny how I don't ever remember hearing anything like that come from any news source I've ever watched in the past 40 years. Ain't that amazing how they just keep you dummied down?
Yeah, it's, how about this? I'll go one step further, Rob. Why is there no inquiry into what it takes to immigrate into some of those countries, even though, the only reason why I looked it up, and the reason why, I want to say maybe it was my inquisitive nature, but having heard so many people talk about not wanting to live in the United States, or headlines out of Drudge Report saying more and more Americans are renouncing their citizenship and moving away, it wouldn't intrigue people to say, well, what does it take to immigrate into other countries if people hate it here? So I wasn't provoked by any headline or something that came across my feed. I went, you know what? These people always say they want to leave. Let's find out what it's like to get into those countries. And to find out that one of those places, I think Portugal, requires you to, make at least, Taiwan, I apologize, at least make $80,000 a year if you move there. God, if we even asked for half of that, no one would immigrate into the United States illegally.
And especially not in the past 10 years have you heard anything about it when it's become so fashionable to give stuff to the ones that come here. No one's more upset about it than the immigrants.
Yeah.
I work with a Guatemalan dude, and to hear him talk how he came to this country with $27 and to see what they're getting, they're upset, man. They're really aggravated.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. I remember many moons ago, my friend Derek, his dad, who came to the country from Panama, and we were sitting at a dinner. I was over at his house because he had a friend that he went to college with, that they had graduated together, and they came over to the house, and we were all sitting there for dinner, and they were talking about going to college. And I remember Derek's Panamanian father talking about the difference between his upbringing as a high school kid versus his son's. And I remember him saying, quite embarrassingly, that is because your generation would never understand the hard work we went through to live in this country, that we respected America so much that we did not have time for recreation or spring break. We did everything we could to become natural citizens in the United States and risked all of that partying and having a good time because we wanted to make a better life for ourselves and our family. And I looked at that and I almost sheepishly said, gee, and at the time, this is the crazy part, Rob, at the time, I had been couch surfing at about 19 because I was homeless, and I was couch surfing from house to house and had no place to live. And I still felt ashamed as an American that man came into this country and did everything he could to become a natural citizen, even foregoing vacations and holidays and everything to work every day of the week. I still
you
felt
ain't
ashamed.
couch surfing no more, brother. You're doing it right now. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep killing it, man.
You got
Love the show.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I always thought that was crazy. That even then, knowing I was homeless and still felt ashamed that I wasn't doing enough. Like I was still slacking. It's like, look at you couch surfing, working, this job here and there. Oh, it was embarrassing. And at the time, just to make matters, I guess, even more embarrassing, the man who said, his name is James Headley, God rest his soul, passed away in 1996, 97. He sat at that table, at the head of that table at that dinner, an immigrant who was the head CPA at the Bank of New York. Just to give you just an understanding of who that was, Panamanian man, was the head CPA at the Bank of New York and was saying every sacrifice he took. And again, me as a homeless kid, couch surfing on their couch and plenty of others during that year and feeling like I got to do something with my life because I felt so little. I felt minuscule. Let's go to White Mike. Who's calling in early? He's usually our last caller. What's going on, Mike?
Oh, man, so I got to watch some of these stupid protests over the weekend.
Yes.
It has done nothing but reaffirm my belief that we should not allow women to have a voice in anything.
They seem to be the loudest voice in all of this. I almost feel like it was, and again, every video I watched, predominantly, I can even go so far as maybe 85% of the women, of the people who were interviewed were all women. Men even sounded like shrieking women, cursing and being like uncivilized in ways. They seemed like screeching.
Dude, I went to our one locally in my county seat. I just I took my over, I rode around and looked at them. Holy crap, dude. It looked like it's waiting room there. The people were all old. It was all old, fat, white lady Yankees from the Northeast, husbands who haven't seen their huevos in 30 years. It was just...
Wait a minute, so all of them were what are sort of like New York transplants living in the Florida area.
Dude, the ones that come here and complain about the freaking pizza, those kind of people? Yeah, that's what it was. Just a bunch of old Yankees whining about Nazism and all this stuff. And I got in one lady's face and I said, are you a communist? And she goes, no. I said, only communists cry about fascism, communists. Oh, she got mad and stormed off. I told one lady she was fat, so clearly she wasn't starving. So I think you're doing okay there, fatty. Oh, she was so mad.
Let me ask you this. Fight me? What do you think, Mike, seriously, in all of this, do you think that these, other than the news cycle, because it's Saturday and it's pretty slow, aside from the weekend news cycle, does this thing carry over? Do we forget about it in 48 hours?
Once the funding stops, that's all. Yeah. I want to know how all these people have professionally printed signs with the No Kings logo. That looks especially like a graffiti version of the Latin Kings logo.
It did.
I don't understand where this comes from. Like, who funded this? And I know not all of these 800 people from county. I know some of these people were paid to come in. They just probably found a few liberal old farts in the villages who didn't want to get beat up for trying this crap.
Well, I know the Gateway Pundit has an article today. Shanghai billionaire connected to Chinese communist and husband of Code Pink founder is behind the recent anti-ICE riots, and that is this gentleman. Let me get his name. I guess, what's his name? Code Pink co-founder Jody Evans and her husband are the ones who are funding all of this.
I'm just saying, dude, everybody complains that America was racist and sexist and misogynistic, but it seems like that's when we were at our peak as a country. Maybe we should try that crap again.
Goodbye. I gotta go.
Yes, sir.
You got it. Well, crazy old white Mike. He's the best. Dan is in somewhere in Connecticut. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you today?
Pretty good. What do you got for me?
Hey, a couple things. I was watching one of these, little memes where they had like the different little videos within it of all the women holding their signs and flipping off the camera.
Yeah.
And classic, halfway through it, you get some old woman holding her sign off, and she's got the bird up and she's flipping off the people next to her. Doesn't even know where to aim it.
Wow.
Like, not at the camera, she's flipping off whoever's standing to her right.
I
was like, that's classic.
Dan, do you think that these protests do anything other than fill the void of no Saturday news? Because I got to put it to you in a way that makes sense to me. And that is, from what you see at these protests, whatever's going on in Washington is dire and must be put to a stop. The fact that it's being held on a Saturday and it's not on a Monday or Tuesday or any day of the week gives me pause that says, maybe it's not that serious to these people. Because I've never seen a weekend warrior have a rally for an hour and a half, sometimes just an hour, and then call it a day if it's supposed to be so dire.
Well, I think it's also a sign that they want to make sure you don't realize all these people that are sitting on welfare and collecting government funds are at a protest on a Monday or Tuesday. Because if you actually went and started looking at them all, went, hey, wait a minute, somebody that actually is like their caseworker looking at them going, wait a minute, all of them are getting $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month off of us. What the hell are they doing at the protest when they should be getting education or getting a job to get off welfare? So they do it on a Saturday, so nobody's questioning the fact that, putting two and two together and going, oh, yeah, government scummers.
Dan, you struck a nerve with me on that. Why I didn't think of it. That's so perfect. So back in my early days of radio, this is actually something famous. It's such a great moment. I was just telling my wife about it. So in my early days of radio, when I was working in New York at the Hot 97 station, right, one of the things I did was I protested Martin Luther King birthday because I said, look, people always say they're taking the day off, but I don't think they were showing Martin Luther King Jr. his proper respect. And I said, for most people, it's just a day off. Well, they decided to hold a protest outside the station because I had said that. So you know what I did as a counter? It was on a Monday morning at 12 noon. 150 people showed up outside the station to protest me. So as a counter protest, do you know what I did? I showed up at the protest with a handful of job applications. And I got on a microphone and I said, if you can make it here on a Monday at noon, it's apparent you folks need gainful employment. So I've come here with a bunch of job applications. And I did. I went to McDonald's. I went to Pizzeria Uno. I went to Wendy's. And I got stacks of job applications. And I handed them out to people at the protest.
You really wanted to be a shock jock when you were young, didn't you?
So the hell if I did not. But that's you brought that up. That's a good point. Many people would see that on a Monday and go, how do these people have the time?
I know. And I got in trouble this weekend. My fiance got a little upset with me. We were at a restaurant, and some waiter or waitress misgendered some guy there.
Wow.
And he started having a hissy fit. He was at the next table to us. And I literally looked over and I said, excuse me, your vagina must be really itching. Could you go to your OBGYN on Monday morning and try to get that taken care of? Oh, my God, she flipped. She was like, I can't believe you said that. I'm like, well, what other reason would this person have to be wigging out over being misgendered if there's nothing wrong unless they have some yeast infection going on?
Dan, I'm going to let you go with that one on a high note. Thank you, sir.
Have a nice day.
You got it. That takes ball. You can get into a fight. In some cases, you just don't know who you're running into with that. You don't. You just don't. Got to be careful. Got to be careful. Anyway, when we come back, we'll talk about it. Bridgeport students complaining about moldy school food and prison-like cafeterias. This is according to a state official report. With hundreds of millions of dollars going into the Bridgeport area, why would these kids be eating moldy food? Even if it's a small amount, why would they have moldy food? And why in Bridgeport? We'll tell you the story when we return, and we'll wrap this puppy up as well. And I think I had something else that I needed to share. I can't remember what it was, but maybe I don't know. We'll find out. All right, let's get another check of weather and traffic and news. John Silva's got news, Jason Catarina with weather, and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app, search WTIC News Talk 1080, and tap earlier today to get started.
Hey, we're back. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. I did get a request, and I think it's only right that I honor it. Who's on the line? I don't care. Just so we understand each other. I don't care. And the person who I'm talking about knows exactly who I'm talking about. But if ever, I gave you a shot. You might remember, but you don't get a shot just because you're you. You're not that important. I just want to let you know. It is a new sheriff in town. It just is. Just so everybody understands. I know you had it your way for a long time. I know that things were the way that you wanted to do, but, times change. Times do change. I am not that person Don't expect me to be. Don't ask me to be. You can whine and you can moan and you can call my boss. Please do. Let them know, hey, Reese on the Radio will not allow me to make the show about you. Go ahead and make that complaint. That's absolutely fine. But you're not owed anything. Okay? So I have respect to everybody. But when you start throwing expletives around to me or challenging my so-called manhood, I become very petty. And I'm not ashamed to be petty. I'm not ashamed to tell people that I am petty. But if you disrespect me, it will not be tolerated. I don't care who you are, where you're from, or who you know. Okay? It is never worth it to disrespect me. Not for you. Okay? I am a very, very strong-willed individual. My integrity means everything, and respect for me means more, because I respect everybody. Roland said something last week, and I don't want to throw his name into this, but I just remember what he said. Actually, he said he believes in respecting people more so because they understand because I give them the respect that they know not to disrespect me. I've given them no license to be disrespectful to me. And that's what I'm just saying to this individual. I ain't saying any names. I don't have to. But I've never given anybody license to be disrespectful to me. But people take that opportunity because, one person even calls me a bully. But then unprovoked comes on my Facebook page and just starts attacking me. Unprovoked. I thought I was a bully. Now, if you're going to poke the bear, just be ready if you poke the bear to get that back. I just want people to understand that. I'm a nice guy. I've always been a nice guy until I'm not a nice guy. Just am. Just the way it goes. Everybody knows that about me. So again, like I said, stay in your place. Please maintain your manners. You got manners. You were brought up with manners. Learn to use them or reassimilate to those manners. Okay? Other than that, you have no place here. Goodbye. All right? So you know. Now, let's get another check of the weather and traffic with Jason Caterina, another man I respect, and Mark Christopher, a man I definitely respect. He's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Reese, thank you very much.
What's up, everybody? You know who it is. You know who it is. It's Reese on the Radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, it's almost a wrap. We'll get to the lightning round in a quick second with your phone calls. 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. Do not forget, go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just being a little ticked off that I have to spell it. Even Karen Thomas at Friendly Hands posted on Facebook today, Reese with a C. It's never been spelled that way. It's REESE, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Reese's Pieces. It's everywhere. It's not like this isn't a well-known candy. It's Reese, REESE, on the radio.com. So make sure that you go there. If you have any commentary or you want to just share a story or something I forgot or may have missed, maybe even the stupidest thing I read today, if you see a story that you think is stupid and you'd like to put in the running, you could do that as well. So I want to do something also. You're not going to be able to see it on, you won't be able to see it if you're listening on the radio, but go to reeseontheradio.com and watch the rebroadcast of the show. So my wife bought this for me at a thrift shop, some antique store. And if you're looking at it, let me describe it to you. It is an old microphone. If you've seen Reese on the Radio, the logo, you know what the microphone looks like. It's the old-timey one. And it is the official emblem of Reese on the Radio. It's the RR with the microphone in the middle. And I thought about this, and it's been bugging me for the longest. So I want to do something. I want to say it might have to be once a month. I think it works better at once a month. I don't think it works every 6 months or maybe bi-monthly. But here's what I want to do. I want to start a thing called the Reese Awards. They got the Grammys. They got the American Music Awards. I want to call something called the Reese Awards. Now, here's the thing, and I'll lay it out. We'll figure it out. So, and I'll, by the way, for anybody at WTIC listening to this, if you want to be a part of it, the sales department, that's fine. If you do, this is something I want to do, is sort of my homage or my respect for the listener. Callers call up all the time and have great quips. Some of the funniest things I've heard have been on this show from people like you. And what I am going to do is find that comment and give out an award to that individual called the Reese. And it'll be something similar to this award, maybe a little smaller in scale. And it will have that individual who calls up, it'll be like, like Craig in the car, will be on there, and, it'll have, that date that they made the comment or whatever the comment is, and then we'll announce it. I don't know exactly how often we'll do it, but it's something I want to do as sort of a gift to the listeners. So if you're interested in doing that, a lot of people listen and don't call, and they have so much to say. I want to turn it into something where I can sort of reward them for their contribution to the show. So we'll work on it. I will tell you more about it in the coming weeks as I work it out. I went to a site and I found like these little microphones that we can use as the awards. So, we'll do it. It's not going to be the most fancy. They're not going to be gold or anything like that. It'll be something similar to that. And it'll be the Reese's, and it'll be a little radio award. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com and go to this portion of the show to find out. Last but not least on the show, Tim Miller of The Bulwark talked to Terry Moran, formerly of ABC News. He was fired for a tweet that he put out in the middle of the night calling Stephen Miller, the Deputy Chief of Staff, pure evil or something to that effect. And he said something interesting when asked what prompted the midnight tweet. Was he drinking? Was he on some drunken stupor? What would make him write this tweet about Stephen Miller? Why think about Stephen Miller in the middle of the night?
Is it a concern that you're thinking about Stephen Miller at midnight? I mean, I guess maybe it says something about the state of the country that you're thinking about Stephen Miller at midnight.
I believe so. It was more the moment that we're in, which he represents in such a vivid and, to me, quite disturbing way. I will say this. I looked at it, I thought, okay, what is that? And I thought, that's a description of the public man. That I'm describing him.
I don't know what you get from that, but let me tell you what I get from that. Terry Moran learned nothing from his firing. And I think this is an overall problem with the so-called objective news media and these personalities, as it were, George Stephanopoulos, Terry Moran. These people really think they are the moral fiber of our society. They're not activists. They are morally superior than us. Nora O'Donnell, many of them, they think they know better than the rest of us. And they sort of look down their noses to people who don't have an ideological bent in the way that they see the world or the way the world should be. And for him to say that, it was in the middle of the night, I was thinking of Stephen Miller, and, that's who he is. And I wanted to tell the world who he was. Who are you? Your objective is to inform the people, not tell them what to think, or better yet, what you think. And that's what this has turned into. These people have now become not even celebrity. I think that's the sad, that would be a sad assessment of who they become. I think the moral compass is what they think they are. They know better. They know better than you or I. I cover the world. I see the world. I travel it. I interview people. My assessment of people, it's qualified. I'm qualified to say that Stephen Miller is pure evil because I know pure evil. These people are funny. They just are. Back to the phones we go. 860-522-WTIC before we get out of here. Jeff is in Marlboro. Thanks for holding, Jeff. What's going on?
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about the Michael Jordan.
Oh, sure. LeBron, yeah.
Versus LeBron. I'm going to tell you one thing real quick. When I was a youngster, I was a total metalhead.
Mm-hmm.
Black denim pants, total metal T-shirts, everything. Even I bought Michael Jordan gear. Okay, I'm a white kid from the sticks.
Who was your metal band, Jeff? Who was your metal band?
My favorite was Iron Maiden.
Okay, all right. So you were hardcore. When I was a kid, Iron Maiden was associated with play the record backwards and you'd hear them talk about Satan. I was of that ignorant ilk.
that was more like Judas
Yeah,
Priest,
Judas Priest. Yeah, no. This is my ignorance as a person who knew nothing about metal. Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, they were all of the same, play their record backwards, and they were, calls for Satan. That's what we thought.
But even I bought Jordan gear. I had, the shorts, T-shirt. My family could never afford the shoes, but if I could, I would have had them.
Right.
It was just like the guy was such a phenomenon. I didn't even like basketball. I just liked the guy. He was so bad to the bone,
Exactly. That's the thing about a sports figure who transcends the sport. He's actually a fabric of, it's more than celebrity. It's iconic. It's like what they represent is beyond that. Two people who also represented that, and you're old enough to know this, Jeff, Larry Bird and Michael and Magic Johnson. They were the same way. Not in the level that Michael Jordan was, but they clearly were, because I remember the McDonald's commercial between Bird and Magic, because that rivalry, that exemplified rivalries, not just sports rivalries, just rivalries.
Yeah, and I'll tell you even a funnier name. I remember as a kid, because I thought he was amazing, Bud Webb.
Yeah, exactly. Some of these people were
a little dude that could dunk. I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think that, and again, I think Kobe was the end of that era where Kobe and Shaq were the end of that era where sports figures became iconic figures outside of the sport, where they could almost advertise anything. Shaquille O'Neal, to me, was one of those guys who also transcended sports. People forget, this guy had, I think, if I'm right, and I'm almost certain of this, somebody may have to correct me, I think the first year of Shaq's career, he spent no money of his salary in the Orlando Magic. The only money he spent was endorsements, was all of his endorsement money. Like buying houses, travel, all of that stuff, buying the cars, all of that was his endorsement money. He spent none of his salary.
Well, a lot of those guys back then, not just sports players, but music artists and everything too, they became bigger than what they did. It was more than the music. It was more than the sports. It was more than the movies.
Indeed.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, they were public figures. Can you remember this one, Jeff? Do you know who ruined it to a large degree? Remember when Charles Barkley did the Nike campaign that said, I'm not a role model?
Yeah, I love that. Because when he said, I'm not supposed to be your child's role model,
right.
You are.
Yeah, I think it took a lot of that edge, or that sort of putting sports figures in that hierarchy. I think he burst that bubble with that campaign.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, I just thought that was...
It was such a great statement. It's like, I'm not supposed to be your kid's role,
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah, it's a good point. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you, sir. Welcome to Monday. Let's wrap it up with Dave in Ellington. Hello, sir.
All right, Reese. Here's your answer to your Reese Award.
Oh, Reese, there is no question to the Reese Awards.
No, there's an answer to it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
sure. You make T-shirts.
Okay.
Reese on the Radio.
Uh-huh.
WTIC. Put it on the front of the T-shirt. Guarantee you'll send $1 million.
Okay.
So sell them in.
Well, I don't want to sell any. I just want to, for someone who calls
Give
up.
them away. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, okay. I'll give them away no matter what I want to do. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for the idea. I think.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, what do you want to do? You want to make a monument? You want to make a plaque?
I don't want to make a monument or a plaque. You'll see it when I
put it on T-shirts. Then
okay, all right. Apparently, Dave is angry.
Reese on the radio, WTIC. Underneath it, you'll sell them all or give them away, whatever you want to do.
You got it. Dave is angling for a T-shirt. We'll make sure we get one to Dave. We'll do it as soon as possible. All right, before we get out of here, Lori says, Michael Jordan is a smart businessman. He refused to isolate himself with politics, as he stated, conservatives wear sneakers too. Yeah, I remember the exact quote. Republicans wear sneakers too. Magic Johnson, coming out about his AIDS diagnosis, further endeared himself with people, respected him for admitting it can happen to anyone from heterosexual activities. You know, Lori, that time, I can tell you before we get out of here, maybe it was just my community of Hollis, Queens, but when he announced, talk about a bomb going off in our lives collectively, people were so afraid of each other at that moment. And I remember it. Like, if you didn't look right, people accused you of having AIDS. They just did. It was really scary when Magic. That's because I get the awareness part. You're 100% right. There was an awareness part that was there that came from it, but people were afraid of other people. You had a cold sore. People were like, hey, get away from me. It was crazy. It was crazy at the time. It just was. Wow, that was a tough time. Anyway, all right. Welcome to your week, folks. We are just getting started, and we'll be back tomorrow. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You, have a good night. Pleasant tomorrow. We'll see you back here next time at 2 p.m. Jason Catarina's got weather, and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center getting you home. Good night, Mark.
Hey, Reese, have a great night. If you're heading into Hartford, Southbound 91, delays 33 down to 32A.
All right, good sir.
Yeah, man.
91. That's looking good now. Cromwell
Let's see
up
if we can get
to
this
Windsor.
thing popping this week.
Yeah, get it on, get it on.
East 84 looking good, burning out in the
All right, I'll see you.
I think everybody wants you up here, so.
I know.
in
We're
Marlboro.
working on it. We're going to get there
9
soon.
southbound a little tight at the Oregoni Bridge in Middletown. 84
We'll be there
eastbound
soon.
Waterbury
I
slowing
promise.
17
We'll
to
be there
18.
soon.
95 South New Haven.
I'll
tight
talk to you
46.
mañana.
Yes, sir. See you tomorrow. Have a good night.
You too.
Together on the 8th, WTIC.
All right, everybody. Yeah, I remember that. And none of that. He made it. And other than Dr. Fauci made a mess of that. You're so right, Lord. So right. Well, it's funny that I didn't, Dr. Fauci wasn't even on my radar back then. But then when I watched the video footage, I went, oh, it was like boom, like a bomb went off in my head. Got here late. We'll definitely catch up on the replay. Thanks. No problem. Of course, man. All right, you guys be wonderful, and we'll see you mañana. Holler.